All right. Good morning, guys. On this beautiful Tuesday morning, we'll get rocking and rolling here. All right. So jumping right into it. We got some cappers to congratulate, give us some office logistical updates. Lindsay's going to show us through how to build postcards through designs within Command. Kimmy has some compliance updates as it relates to earnest money, and then I have a whole bunch of stuff to go over as it relates to the language of real estate, market insights, awards, and then Mandy is going to wrap us up with training and education. So, one thing I just wanted to make sure that everybody saw, KW really has been at the forefront of making sure that, everything that's going on in our world socially and societally, that we are making sure that we're really providing a collaborative and inclusive environment. And, part of that is KW is creating a task force globally to look at how are we creating really inclusive environments for all of our associates. And actually, one of the things we've been fortunate is KWRI has reached out to us and asked us to nominate one or two people to sit on the global task force around this conversation, around how we can help better educate ourselves, make positive influences and impacts within our communities, and to continue the conversation of what we can do better. So if that is something that moves you, that you want to sit on really a global task force that would really impact about 180,000 people in terms around what change looks like and how we can impact change not only here locally but nationally as well, feel free to shoot myself or Diana or Mandy a note, as we would love to have someone locally here in Milwaukee be a voice for Keller Williams International in terms of sitting on that task force. So I would encourage you, if you feel moved to do so, please feel free to raise your hand. We would love to help support your nomination and would love to see someone from Milwaukee sit on that task force. So feel free to reach out to myself, Diana, or Mandy with more details. Cool. All right, so we have a few people to congratulate. Last month, month of May was an interesting month, and but the good news is we have a handful of people who gave themselves a raise, and talk about an absolutely perfect time to get a raise within your commissions from joining the 100% Club. So a few people to celebrate. First, this person started with, this is one of those people that I call a boomeranger. She started her career at KW right out of the box, left to go find something different, and then realized, what, her business was best supported in the KW model. Is a phenomenal mom of 3 crazy young boys. I love hanging out with their family. Corey Bolt, congrats on capping. Next person, similarly came to us as a new agent. It was trying to navigate how to make this career work, especially as a young professional in Milwaukee, and navigating personal change in her life, as well as having gotten married over this time frame. So Elise Bolt, congrats on capping in the month of May. Next up, we have this person has been with KW almost since day one in a multitude of roles, has been in the industry for, I believe, 20 plus years, is a phenomenal mother to her daughter, Rosie, and is the compliance broker out in Lake Country who provides us great insights and knowledge. Steph Connard, congrats for capping. Next guy is a visionary, runs a really big real estate business in totality. What I mean by that is he has investments, he has Airbnbs, he runs a very large residential real estate business, is always the pushing boundaries of what can get done next, and is always looking at new ways of opportunities for him and his wife, Jenny. Chuck Hutch, congrats on capping in the month of May. Next one, another one of those people that has came to us from really looking to build their career and profession from the ground up. Quite frankly, what he's done in the way he lead generates blows me away, and the success that he's had in a very short amount of time has been phenomenal to watch and see his professional career grow. So William Lauer, congrats on capping in the month of May. Last person, or we have two more people. Next person sits on our ALC, is always challenging the way we think and do things. Was Milwaukee Business Journal 40 under 40 this year. Has a wife that probably pushes him harder than anybody. Alicia is a phenomenal partner for you. Newbie, congrats on capping in the month of May. And then lastly, talk about what I call the organizational maven of the real estate industry. Has planners on planners on planners on planners. Is super organized, also gives back to our associates through the launch program, through coaching and accountability. Amanda Schroeder, congrats on capping in the month of May. Cool. So those are our cappers for the month of May, guys. Congrats everybody who gave themselves a 30% raise, especially as we head into the summer months. And stay tuned for our next batch of cappers coming up. Cool. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay Vranick. Lindsay, you on?
I am on. Good morning, everybody. All right, so last week we talked about campaigns, and I got a lot of questions about direct mail and how you can create those custom postcards. Well, the really cool thing about Command is that you can create those in designs. So I'm going to share my screen and really quickly show you guys how we can do that. All right, 1 second here. Okay, so when I'm in designs, I am going to create something new. So I'm going to click this plus button. And right off the bat, I know that direct mail postcards are in print. And one of the coolest things about designs is that I can pull in all of my photos and my text from a listing, and it's pulling in from the MLS through to the KWLS. So right off the bat, I'm going to check off import photos and text from a listing. So this is going to make designing this custom postcard even easier. All right, so I'm going to pull in my listing, and I've got this beautiful new listing in Hubertus. So I think I saw this one on one of our Facebook pages. So I'm going to select this. So this is my listing that I want to promote, and I'm going to send out a direct mail piece for it. So I'm going to pull in that listing. So right off the bat, when I'm going to open up designs, once this loads here, it's going to load in all of these different templates. So here we go. So you'll see on the left-hand side, it's broken out by, a couple categories. So for this particular instance, I'm going to click on listings, and then I'm going to select for sales. So I've got all of these different postcard templates that I can choose from. So I'm going to find the one that really catches my attention and something that I want to edit for this listing. So I'm going to go ahead and use this particular template here. So I clicked on that red use button in that corner, and that's going to pull up the editor where I can customize it. So since I pulled in a particular listing, I can click on this button over here that says KWLS.
Hey,
and so you'll see right off the bat.
For some reason, the bandwidth on what you're screen sharing is super blurry, so no one can actually see what you're doing.
Oh no.
So here's what we'll do, group. What we will end up doing is actually recreate this, and we'll send this out in a video so you can see exactly how she does this as it relates to postcards. But Lindsay, just kind of give us the cliff notes as it relates to the capability that people have within designs for building postcard templates and campaigns.
Yeah, so, it's not just direct mail. I'll be going over social posts, print marketing, there's listing presentation, buyer consultation packets in there. So with the direct mail, so you'll see that screenshot that Charlie shared right now. So there's a lot of different templates in there, and then you'll see all of the different templates on the left-hand side. So whether it's you're holding an open house, or you have a price reduction, or you want to attract buyers or send out market updates, there are things in here for any situation in order to promote your listings or your brand in general. So with direct mail, I just wanted to really highlight that and kind of piggyback off of the campaigns training that I did last week to show you how you can customize those and then utilize campaigns and send out that direct mail with that radius search. So I'll be going over particularly how to design those postcards along with all of the other templates that are in designs and really get into the nitty gritty with how to edit those.
Cool.
So that's at 1 today for tech training.
So Lindsay, if I'm an agent and I have a new listing, right, and I want to build a postcard for a direct mail campaign to announce my new listing to my database, right? All said, from the time I start my postcard to the time it's finished within Command, in designs within Command, what would you say that would take? 10 minutes? 5 minutes?
I would say 10 minutes. Yeah, I mean, the first time might take you 15 minutes, just depending on, how you want it, how you want to design the postcard. But yeah, total from the start of getting into designs, editing the template with your listing, and then downloading it, uploading it to the campaign, I would say around 10, 15 minutes.
Perfect. And then once you approve your design, what do you what's the turnaround time from approved to being shipped?
I believe it's 6 days. Real Mailers is the company that's integrated with Command for direct mail. So that is all a part of Command. And it's going to tell you those details when you are processing and submitting that order.
Cool. Awesome. So guys, we will circle back on this to create a video so that you can see this directly as a quick tutorial of how you can do direct mail through designs within Command. And we apologize for a little bit of the bandwidth issues. So thank you for speaking up on the chat section. Cool. Thanks, Lindsay. All right. Kimmy, you're up.
Good morning, everyone. Very quick compliance update today. Just want to recap the electronic earnest money through trust funds. So as a recap, we are able to receive earnest money electronically. So please communicate that to buyer's agents if you're the listing agent. All they need to do is go into MLS, click on the trust funds link, and then they'll be brought to another window where they will enter in or select the listing firm as receiving the earnest money. And then they're brought to another screen where they enter in the buyer's information, the earnest money amount, and just a reminder, there is a $5 convenience fee for doing this electronically. Then this notification goes to the buyer. They will get an email notification with all the property information, the agent's photo, and then they just follow their steps of getting their earnest money, entering their bank account information. The biggest thing I want to hit on today, though, is once the buyer submits their payment, all parties will receive an email notification. So you're going to receive 2 email notifications, whether you're on the buy side or the listing side. You're going to receive the first email notification when the earnest money payment has been submitted and it's delivered into the trust account. And then there will be a second email notification when the earnest money has fully settled, which takes about up to 4 business days. So you will see 2 email notifications. Either of these email notifications is acceptable to upload into your opportunity for compliance review. However, if you're using a transaction coordinator, please ensure that you're emailing or forwarding those emails to them. They will not receive the emails. It will only go to the listing agent or buyer's agent. And then the other thing to note is that lenders are typically asking for copies of the cleared receipt. So when they're asking for proof of the earnest money being delivered, make sure you're sending them the second email notification of that the earnest money has cleared. So that's all I have for your quick little compliance update today.
Cool. Guys, I highly recommend, trust funds, I understand, is a total learning curve, just as electronic lockboxes were as well. But it is a super simple format. It really helps prevent fraud, mail fraud. I mean, I can just tell you that we've had earnest money checks that have been compromised through the mail. Not in a major bad way, but just saying mail fraud is a major piece of this. And so the use and availability of trust funds is such a great way to help us mitigate any sort of risk as it relates to earnest money, and such a simple, easy way to manage this for everybody. So I highly encourage you to take a look, and we'll make sure that we send the trust funds instructions out within the follow-up email from today as well. Cool. All right, Deej, you're up with a little cautionary tale of an anecdotal piece of evidence as it relates to a buyer who actually switched agents because of the the agent's lack of awareness. So, Deej, tell us the story.
You got it. Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. This story happened to us last Monday. We got a call into our office, and most calls into our office are robocalls. So you can imagine my surprise when there was an actual person on the other end of the call. They asked me for a recommendation for an agent, and here's why. They had been working with someone outside of KW, and I won't share who, but what they said was when they went to go meet with them, the agent, I'm sure in a way to set the person's mind at ease, presented themselves as kind of the know-all be-all of how to show houses during this odd COVID time. So the buyers had some concerns. They wanted masks. They wanted to know how this was going to be done safely. And according to the buyer, the response was, oh, don't worry, I've got this. We know how to do this. So again, I'm sure that was the agent's way of setting the buyer at ease. But what it did, how it was received by the buyer was, oh, you are dismissive of my needs. You're not listening to me. So they didn't work with that agent anymore, and they called us and they wanted a new one. They wanted someone who could listen and respond to what their concerns were. So the reason we bring this up is that we're opening up. Things are, obviously we have a lot going on in the world right now. It's time for us to just raise and elevate our emotional intelligence and be super aware of the person that's sitting across the table from us and having conversations with us and helping them navigate as well as we can. So be aware of where your trigger points are and be really present in that conversation with your buyers and sellers. And we're gonna move along smooth sailing. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I am handing it back over to Charlie.
Cool. Yeah, I think what may have gotten lost in some of the economy reopening, or a lot of other things that are going on in our world right now, is just making sure that we are reiterating to our clients that we're taking the necessary precautions and providing them the actual details as to the precautions you're taking, so that we don't come off as dismissive or a little laissez-faire as it relates to everybody's risk tolerance as it relates to their health needs. So I thought it was just, Deej told me that story last week, or this most recent week, and I just said, hey, that's just a good reminder to our group to make sure that they're assessing their clients' risk tolerance and that they're taking it seriously. So that was a good tale. Awesome. Thanks, Deej, for sharing. Here we go. Jumping in. April and year-to-date awards. And I'm actually going to pass this off to Mandy, who's going to celebrate some people.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So we're 5 months through the year. So starting to kind of see this scoreboard go up and down and steady a little bit. So a lot of people to congratulate this month. This is the May Home Run Club for North Shore and Lake Country. So congrats to Hildy on here. We have Nick Fetting back in the game, kicking off with a home run, Peter Gossman, and William Lauer. So a lot of really great people on the Home Run Club. $1 million month, a lot of people with everything going on still crushing their business. So congrats to everyone who had $1 million month. A couple of you were really close with 900. I wanted to put you on here, but hopefully we'll see that again in June.
And then Deej, talk about the Lake Country group for the month of May.
Yeah, you guys, I love award day because I get to celebrate people. Steph Connard has been such an amazing contribution to our market center. And while she's done that, she's closed some amazing business. So congratulations, Steph, on here. Jen and Robin, both killing it. So super exciting. And Lisa, your year-to-date volume, look at that, 2.1. Super exciting. Good things going on. That's the individual awards, and then our team awards here. Team Trimble, you know, it's no surprise to see Team Trimble at the top, but I do have to call them out. They have been hustling during this time. So congratulations, 1.9 for May. Bark River, that's Nicole McGonigal and Katie Tusmer doing some amazing work during this time too. And then the Sayers team is up there for us. We look at our year-to-date, there's Gallagher Lake Country right there with Team Trimble and the Sayers team. So great work, everybody, super exciting.
Cool, and then back to North Shore, Mandy, for the month of May.
Month of May, we had Marcus Auerbach with almost 1.5 million, and then Dave on his heels. So congrats you two. William Lauer, Timory Naples, awesome month of May.
Peter G coming in hot with a 950, baby. Let's rock and roll.
May for teams, we've got Falk Reuven Gallagher, JSG, great job guys, Stale, Duval, Dusty, got Corey Bolt, and then very close there, like Charlie always mentions, those last 5 teams fighting it out. Every deal counts here. Year to date for units, John Mauldner with 24. We got a bunch of people tied with 8. We got Julie Scott, Alyssa Burkhoff, Julie Licken, and Will Warren. Congratulations, you guys. Year to date for individual volume. And then year to date units for teams out of the North Shore office. Congrats, everyone.
And then year-to-date volume for the teams as well, seeing where the group stacks up. So 5 months through the year, guys, congrats. We will post these and send these out as well today for everybody to review. But I love, you know, always everybody pushing each other for the collective good. As I always say, rising tides lifts all ships. So congrats, everybody, through the month of May. So now I'm going to jump into some market stats and updates from here, and I'm going to really help you kind of break down what the heck is going on in the marketplace. How do we effectively communicate this to our clients, and just give you kind of line of sight as to how do we become the economist of choice when presenting facts, data, and logic to our clients. And the other thing is that I need to remind our group all the time, and I'm hearing this more and more frequently, right? You have to be the economist of choice for the market of the moment, right? We have to help our clients understand the market of the moment today is not May of 2019 and is not May of 2018. So what I'm going to present to you today is help you understand how are you the economist of choice to present this information with facts, data, and logic so that you can talk about the market today, not what was happening in the last 2 years, because what's happening in the last 2 years is wildly different than what we're facing today. And so I need to reground everybody's thinking of be focused on the market of the moment. So you'll see a lot of the information that I'm presenting today talks about the market of the moment, so you can help frame your mindset around how you present that to your clients. So when we look at this, I pulled the Language of Real Estate report, again, across the major, I would say 8 comparables as we relate it to future production and current production. And this is across the 5-county metro area for southeastern Wisconsin, right? And I'm going to tell this story here. What you can see up here on the top is I'm going to give you what it looked like in April. Then I'm going to focus on how it showed up in May. Again, April of 2020 versus April of 2019, May of 2020 versus May of 2019, and then total year to date so far 2020 versus 2019, right? So what I want to focus on first is here's what we saw in April, right? These were numbers that we reported last month. And as you saw, COVID was starting to have an impact on our business as it relates to current production, right? Closed units were down 12%, total closed volume was down 4%. That was the current market within the month of April. Now, when you look at what is the future telling us about where this is going, you know, I always said, this is the cautionary tale about where our industry is headed in the next 60 to 90 days. So if you look, listings taken in the month of April was down 37%. The volume was down 37%. Contracts written was down 31%, right? So what these numbers indicate is they tell us, where do we think the market's headed in the next 60 to 90 days? Okay, so then let's just break this down as to what this looked like for May just in terms of closed production. So if you correlate, right, from these numbers up here to these numbers, you can very clearly see that COVID beginning in April was starting to have a major impact on our industry in the month of May. So, right, closed units in the month of May, again, reminder, this is across all of southeastern Wisconsin, was down 28%, and volume was actually also down 28% across the entire industry. So you can see here, April, the lack of listing inventory taken in the month of April really started to show up in the month of May in terms of closed units. And my prediction is you're going to start to see this hangover effect from these numbers show up into June and July. Okay. Now, what does this mean for how May showed up in terms of future production, right? Our lead metrics. Well, as it relates to our lead metrics, you can see here, listings taken were only down 22%, listings taken volume was down 19, and contracts written was only down 9. So if you compare how these numbers showed up here and how these numbers may show up in June then, you know, what I would say is it's kind of a good news, bad news scenario. And this is why I showed April and May combined, is you can start to see a recovery happening in terms of the trend lines. So while down 22% is never a good thing, it's not a down 37%, right? So you can start to see the trend across the total industry. So hopefully, and you can see here based on contracts written, down 31 in April, but only down 9 in May, is just as we've talked about in earlier weeks or earlier months, is we're really starting to see the impact of a V-shaped recovery. And so then what I look for when I break down these numbers is that when we look into June, so when we do this from a month from now, that listings taken units for future production are again down to low double digits or low single digits, and contracts written units are down low single units. Again, gives us the insight of the lead metrics of where the industry is headed. I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to open up the chat line. Cool. Awesome. So yes, as a reminder, these are total MLS stats. These are not KW stats because I'm trying to give you the full scope and picture of where the industry is headed. And then here you can see year to date as it relates to how really the last 2 months have impacted our industry as it relates to closed units, closed sales volume, almost flat, only down 0.1. But really the last 2 months have had a major impact in terms of the current production as the year-to-date results. And then you can see here listings taken and so forth. But again, as I send this out, the reason why I share this is really, I want you to, if you were to split this up into a quadrant box, is really look at the trends from April into May and how your future production of the lead metrics here show up here. So hopefully as we see these trends getting better as a comparison to April, that we should start seeing again, a V-shaped recovery of the total industry improving. Then here is what I pulled. This is just year to date. There's so much data in all this, so I'm trying to streamline it for everybody. Here is year to date for Milwaukee MLS versus KW North Shore. The green numbers indicate where we are outperforming the total industry, and the white numbers are where we're underperforming total industry. You know, net, when I look at this, we've really been impacted most by listings taken units, but we've offsetted that with people picking up buyer activity, which is why we're seeing, essentially we're just shifted our mix a little bit from a little less listings to a little bit more buyers. But you can see here, specifically to North Shore. And then as it relates to Lake Country here specifically, really Lake Country is a total group almost across every major metric, including listings, is outperforming total metro MLS. So when you see here, you know, while in the North Shore we've had a little bit of a dip in terms of our ability from a listings taken units, Lake Country has really done a nice job, solid year to date, only down 4% on listings taken unit, while the industry is down 12%. So what does that mean? It means that the Lake Country market specifically is taking listing inventory market share across the total across the total MLS. So that's what it looks like as it relates to the what we call our lead metrics and our lag metrics, and what is going to show up in the next 60 to 90 days. Then here I just pulled, again, market share volume as it relates to office trends. One thing I would note here is if you look at across all these, and I just pulled the major offices that we really mainly all compete with from a comparison standpoint, what you'll see here from the month of April into the month of May, almost every major office in the Metro MLS saw a dip in their level of productivity. Interestingly enough, if you compare the dip from April into May, Lake Country's dip was actually the least significant dip of all of these offices. You know, you can obviously see the impact the industry has had in North Shore. Southwest had a little bit. Here is, it looks like First Weber Brookfield, First Weber Delafield. You know, all these offices, this is a total industry situation. So this is, again, a total rolling 12-month metric. So before I gave you the year-to-date, this is a rolling 12-month window. The Lake Country office on a 12-month window is up 84%. Southwest is up 32%, and the North Shore office is up 30%. So you can see COVID's definitely slowed some of our trends, but it's slowed everybody's trends. So it's had a universal impact. As it relates here is an interesting little graph. This is new that I pulled this month for you guys. It's just as it helps us tell our story, right? So if you look here, here's the year-to-date dollar volume percent change. And when you look at this, what I wanted to point out is the top 6 brokers in the MLS control 61% of the total MLS volume. So that's Shore West, Keller Williams, RE/MAX, First Weber, Coldwell Banker, Realty Executives. And then you can see here on the far left, this is every other broker in town, independent, everybody else. So really the top 6 control 61% of the volume. And of the top 6, the KW totality, in terms of percent change of volume year to date. So this is just January 1 through May, end of May. Total KW volume is up 15%, while every other major broker is down in total volume year to date, while the industry is also down 6%. So total KW has done a really nice job of taking market share through a shift. When you look at it here from a units perspective, again, this is total year-to-date units percent change. The top 6 brokers here control 64% of the total MLS units. And again, the story here is very, very similar, right? Agents control their units. The market gives you your volume. And so the story here is even a little bit more profound in terms of what the unit percent change year to date looks like. KW is up 8.98% year to date on total units. So you guys have done an unbelievable job of taking market share just in terms of total units. While you can see here, every other major broker has had a significantly impact in terms of their units just year to date so far in May. So again, congrats to the work that you guys have done as it relates to what's shown up year to date in both volume and units across all of KW. All right, so weekly market insights. So what is going on in terms of the trends and what are we seeing? So here's our showing time activity, right? As it relates to what's going on. Very interesting little stat that I would share with you too that I haven't shared before. Since the pandemic has really hit, we are 13% higher since the peak of 2020, right? So we are at our peak in terms of buyer activity within the marketplace. And if you look also, this most recent week versus the same week last year, there were 23% more showings in the marketplace during the same week in the last year. That's almost a quarter more showings that are going on this year than there were last year. The buyer activity, again, as we talked about a V-shaped recovery, this has been a very fast response in terms of buyers. And you can see May really was the time that buyers really started to come out. So again, you know, I see someone at Sendix, they say, hey, how's the market? And here's my one line. I say, guess what's crazy? There were 23% more showings in the marketplace last week during the same week in 2020 versus 2019, despite everything that's going on. And that blows people's mind. So if you're looking at people who are maybe still a little hesitant or wanting to delay their listing decision, it's a great little nugget to have in your back pocket to say the buyers are back out in full force. Here, as it relates to units under contract, very strong positive momentum. As I remind you, remember, stay in the market of the moment, right? So what I did here is you can see here, this is the weekly trend line as it relates to the units that are going under contract. And then just for perspective, because I get this question frequently, is, okay, that's great, that's going on now, but how does that compare against last year, right? So what you can see here is May of this year versus May of last year, there were 10% fewer units went under contract, or we lost about 289 units that went under contract in May of 2020 versus May of 2019. But again, I encourage you, stay in the market of the moment. We have to talk about the building momentum within the marketplace and a V-shaped recovery. And while, yes, we are not in the market of where we were in May of 2019, and we lost about 300 units that went under contract last month. Here, again, looking at the sales absorption rate, again, as a reminder, sales absorption is the percentage of inventory that goes under contract. Again, strong positive momentum. Last week, we saw the highest sales absorption rate we've seen in the entire year of 2020. And again, I've had a few questions. It's great. How does this relate to last year? If you look here, this is the really interesting stat. If you compare this year's market versus last year's market, they have a 6.3% higher sales absorption rate this year versus last year. So you may be thinking, okay, what does this mean? And what's the nugget I derive from this, right? Here's what you need to know. There is a higher percentage of the inventory that is going under contract this year versus last year. So if you look at the total inventory, there are more homes going under contract in the month of May in terms of the totality of it, 28%, versus last year. That's a good thing. That all is correlative to the buyer activity that is going on within the marketplace. And then you can see here's the weekly. You know, one of the things that I would say over the last couple of weeks is I was looking at, there was a slight little trend of a decline. We did see an increase in the most recent last week in terms of total new units that went to the marketplace. And here's really an interesting little stat for you. The last 5 weeks, we've maintained an average of 644 new units a week, right? We've averaged 644 new units a week. Okay, over the last 5 weeks. Well, the units that went under contract on average the last 5 weeks has been 574. Okay, so new units on average have come to the marketplace is 644 a week. Units that went under contract is 574. So you can see there's a delta of about 60 units, right? So net, what's the nugget on this slide? We are slowly starting to rebuild inventory levels and build the supply from the major fall off that COVID had. Now, I would love to see the new inventory units jump 200 or 300 more than the units that are going under contract to help us stabilize the market. But it's a positive sign that we're seeing within the market that inventory is really starting to stabilize and come back. Again, albeit it's going to be slow, but it's a positive sign for our industry. And then you can compare here is May of 2020 versus May of 2019. Total new inventory to the marketplace was down 22%. And then what I did here is if you looked at the total inventory of May of 2020 versus May of 2019, how has this impacted our industry? And you can see, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to give you a 3-year comparison. So if you look at May of 2019 versus May of 2018, okay, that was down 5%. So May of 2019 versus May of 2018. May of 2020 versus May of 2019. So this year versus last year, total inventory was down 16%. And when you compare May of 2020 versus May of 2018 over a 2-year spread, it was down 20%. So again, I remind you, so many people, and I've heard this from friends, family members, people at the grocery store, that they're so focused on what happened in May of 2019 in the market. We have to reground our clients in terms of what is going on in the market of the moment, because inventory is definitely declining, and yet it is also recovering. but we can't compare it to what last spring was, because last spring is totally different than where we are today. Cool. So I'm going to quickly run through this. Now I broke it down by price point for everybody. So here, total market, all price points. So what is the total story? It's a simple Econ 101 equation, right? When inventory is low and demand is high, what happens? Prices go up. So when you look at the median price point of under contract, the median price point of those that are sold, and I also pulled as a new stat for this group, is what is the sold dollars per square foot cost, right? Total market pricing on everything is going up in the marketplace. Inventory is going down. And interestingly enough, I think this really has to do with the pandemic, the health pandemic. Days on market have slowed slightly. You know, it's 9.6% slower, but 39 to 43 days. Still, homes are selling like hotcakes. It's just we need more inventory. So, you know, as it relates to, oops, sorry guys. As it relates to what's going on in the marketplace, it's an Econ 101 conversation. Price per square foot's going up. The median price of homes being sold is going up. And then I pulled all of this data. So you can see here, less than 350,000 inventory that's less than 350,000 makes up 70% of the for sale market inventory and 73% of the new units coming to the market, right? The story is the same. Pricing is going up. Total inventory is down this year versus last year. You can see here, 350 to 700K. Again, pricing is going up across all major metrics. Inventory within this market isn't being impacted as great as below 350, and I think that part of this has to do with the middle to upper middle class as it relates to everything that's been going on in the economy. I don't believe has been impacted as you look at the macro impacts of the marketplace, whether it's unemployment or their financial means, especially with what's going on in the stock market right now that's on an absolute tear. And the also interesting thing to note here is the inventory that's in 350 to 700 is actually selling 19% faster this year versus last year. And then lastly, the luxury market, 700 plus. This represents only 8% of the total for sale inventory and 4% of the new units that are coming to the marketplace. Very similar story, which is good. For those of you in the luxury category, from a pricing perspective, it's really remained pretty stable. You know, if you look at the price per square foot, that's really not a significant difference in the marketplace, only down $1 per square foot. So pricing has remained stable, and inventory really within this price point is not horrible. I mean, it's not a major drop off. So I say net, when you look at what's happening across the price points in the total market, is we're seeing really solid positive signs of a recovery, and really a rapid V-shaped recovery that we kind of were hoping for and we're somewhat predicting when we were taking a look at this back in March. So that's good to see as we sit here now on June 9th. So again, I know this is a ton of information. I will be sending all of this out to the group here, and we'll see. Quick question from John Lorenz within the chat. Do you see the end of summer being stronger than usual since COVID temporarily held back the rains during our busiest time of the year? The numbers seem to point that way. I would say yes. And I also believe it's a little bit of a cautionary tale. I do believe June and July closed units. Well, June, July, August, in terms of closings, will have our largest impact in terms of, if you look at all that stuff was the stuff that was going on March, April, May. So I really see that there will be maybe a stronger July, August, which will show up then in maybe early fall. So I actually think the fall will actually be a little bit stronger than previously, whereas summer, everything that really closes in summer was booked in the spring, but your activities will show up. You'll probably have a busier summer, and those activities will then translate to income in the fall, if that makes sense. Cool. All right. So wrapping it up, Mandy, I'm turning it over to you just as a reminder on upcoming training and education.
All right, sounds great. So we have the beginning of the listing series that is coming to us from Southwest's office is starting today. So 1 o'clock, how to get the listing, and that's going to be a 4-week series at 1 o'clock every Tuesday. So if you want to pop onto those. And then Coffee with a Capper tomorrow, we have a quick substitute. So we'll actually have Jen Thornton as our Coffee with a Capper instead of Hildy. So join us tomorrow at 11 with Jen Thornton. And then for any new agents, we are doing new agent masterminds with Diana every other Friday. So if you're new to the business and you're looking to kind of create that tribe during this time when we're all kind of working remote, do not miss that on Friday at 10 o'clock.
Awesome. Thanks, Mandy. All right. So couple things to remind you on the June training calendar, anything that's a recurring thing, you can find the Zoom IDs underneath here for the reoccurring ones, and the unique meetings that you'll find like right underneath as well. And if you have a copy of the PDF or any other version of this, these are also hyperlinked into it. So all you have to do is just click on the Zoom ID and it'll take you into the meeting. Cool. Few final updates for you. Mega Camp is going virtual, probably a no surprise to anybody, but stay tuned as we get ready to push boundaries, stay connected, and lift your spirits in your business, all without ever having to leave your desk. So details are coming soon on Mega Camp. If you've booked travel, just as a reminder to cancel your airfare and hotel reservations, but Mega Camp in August is going virtual. And then Bold Pivot, I heard a lot of great feedback as it relates to Bold Pivot. They are starting another session for Bold Pivot during the summer. It's going to run July 14th to August 6th. It's open to all, even outside of those outside of KW. So if you took Bold Pivot and you want to take it again, it's coming back. And if you missed the first chance at it, don't worry, it's coming back again this summer. And so as we get more details in terms of registration and things like that, we will share them along. Cool. That's it for this week, guys. Thank you for jumping on. I know that it was a little thick in terms of data. You know, I try and only do that once a month to, you know, try and protect everybody's brains because it's a lot to take in. But I will recap everything for everybody to make sure that you have all the little nuggets you need for your clients. And I would remind you, stay in the market of the moment and be your economist of choice, right? Awesome. Lake Country Group. You guys can jump off to the Lake Country meetup. For those of you in the North Shore that want to do the new listings and buyer needs, I will hang out here as we transition there for people to want to throw stuff out. Awesome. Have a great week. Great week,
Thanks,
guys.
Charlie.